Hello again everyone and welcome back to my allotment. I've been up to quite a lot over the last week or two, so much actually that I've had to write it down so I can then read it out to you because I just can't remember off the top of my head. There's been so much going on over the last week or two around the allotment, as there always is in July and August. It's a super busy time, but it's the best time of the year. Sometimes it can be too much and we can struggle to keep on top of it all, but the harvests just make it so much worth it. It's always worth it in the end after all the hard work. So just last weekend we went to the Why Not Festival in Derbyshire, my first ever festival, and it was brilliant. I had a blast. So I was away from the allotment for a few days. My allotment neighbour kindly watered the allotment for me in my absence, and yeah, I was away for like 4 or 5 days, came back and I was greeted with a lot of stuff to harvest. I took like 3 baskets of veg home yesterday. It's just so much. I've been giving some produce away to friends and family and neighbours as well because there's just so much. So I'm going to read out this list of what I've... So I'm going to read out this list here of what I've been doing over the past week or so. There's a bit of a problem which I'm going to show you later on as well. Brassicas. Problem with the brassicas, yeah. But we'll have a look at that later. So what have we done? So I cut back the foliage on the strawberry plants because a few plot neighbours had done the same. They've cut the foliage right back to tidy the plants up. I've also taken a lot of the runners off as well and disposed of those. I have taken some runners from the plants. I've got about 30 of them which I'm saving for next year, but honestly it was just a mess, a complete jungle of strawberry plants. So I sorted them out. The new leaves that will grow back will be much more healthy. It is said that cutting the strawberries down to the ground to let them grow back is beneficial. That's just what I've heard. I've decided to try that this year and see how we do with that. I've made a new bed just over here and I've planted some perennials in there. I got some perennials from the Malvern Spring Show. I got a lupin, I got a salvia plant, hot lips or red lips, one of the two. It's a salvia, and I also got a perennial geranium plant with lovely pink flowers. I've planted those in the raised bed over there, so there's a new perennial raised bed which I built there. We harvested the first sweet corn last week as well, and I cooked all of that on the barbecue. It was lovely. The kernels were pretty much filled. Of course there was some on the end that weren't filled and a couple of spots where there were missing kernels, but they were grown in the greenhouse. A few people were concerned about pollination. There's no wind in the greenhouse obviously, so that can't blow the pollen off the tassels onto the ears of corn below. But I'd been coming down and shaking the tassels so the pollen fell onto the corn below, and it seemed to have worked. We had some pretty good cobs. There's a few more on here. There's like 3 or 4 more. There's actually a few outside as well. I did plant some sweet corn with the pumpkins. It's just keeping the rats off them. That is the trick. They're probably going to be harvested soon if the rats don't get there first. This is better than last year. Last year we got no sweet corn because the rats had just taken them all out, so it's an improvement on last year. We also harvested the potatoes last week, just 8 buckets of them. I did a video on that which you can go and check out after this video. I'll leave a card at the end so you can check that out. I planted out the second lot of dwarf beans in the bed which we grew the onions in, and yeah, I only did that yesterday. They're just small plants at the moment. Hopefully the slugs don't get them. Probably will, to be honest. We harvested loads of beans. The Cobra French beans have been absolutely amazing. So prolific. I've been harvesting huge baskets of them and they're still throwing beans out. But the thing which I like the most about them is you can let the Cobra beans get to a really big size and they still don't go stringy. So I've not got the pressure of having to pick them before they get too big. I harvested a ridiculous amount of cucumbers. I am not joking. I was giving packs of cucumbers to my neighbours and friends and family. I just couldn't get rid of them fast enough. And yesterday I harvested an insane amount of cucumbers. Mini munch cucumbers are just so prolific. I harvested like 50 cucumbers, and that is no over exaggeration there. So those have done really well. I harvested a good lot of beetroot as well. Those have been lovely. Plums, I harvested some off my plum tree on my plot, but also some off the new plot as well. I'm probably going to stew those, although they are quite nice fresh. They're lovely and sweet. I used the Team U fruit picker to try and get some that were high up. Oh! Plum to the face. Yeah, that didn't work very well for me. I also harvested a couple of apples as well from my Discovery apple tree, and they are just so sweet. They are lovely. The carrots I've been harvesting as well. Those have been nice. You just can't beat a homegrown carrot. Just so much more flavour than the shop bought ones. And the sweet candle carrots which I harvested were absolutely delicious. They were so sweet, and the roots were just so clean. No carrot root fly or anything like that, so those were really good. We've also harvested quite a few tomatoes recently as well. I harvested a few of the Sun Gold tomatoes. These are cocktail crushed tomatoes, and they're actually part of the experiment which I'm conducting, where I feed one with Tomarite, one with urine, diluted of course, and one with just water. So no feed. And the results so far, the plant with Tomarite, it's yielded much more fruit than the urine one, but the urine one has still given a decent crop. Much more than the tomato plant, which hasn't been fed anything. That has given the lowest yield so far, but it's inconclusive so far really. We have to wait until the very end of the season because there's loads more fruit towards the top. But at the moment it looks like the Tomarite one is doing the best, and the urine one isn't too far behind that, to be honest, and then the one with nothing isn't doing as well. And of course we've had an absolute bombardment of courgettes. What am I supposed to do with this? So I actually cooked some of the courgettes the other day, differently to how I usually do them. I sliced them up thinly and I fried them in a pan with garlic butter, salt and pepper, and a bit of oregano and basil. And honestly, the flavour was just completely different to what they usually are. They were so lovely. So I think next week I'm going to sow more seeds. So I've got a continuous harvest through the autumn, winter, and also next spring as well. And that actually brings me round to the brassica problem again. Because we've got a problem with them, we may have to sow some more to overwinter. So yeah, I'm going to sow some spring onions, lettuce, maybe some more beetroot, some carrots in buckets, and probably some more brassicas and stuff as well, because I want to keep the harvest going. That's probably going to be next week, and I may make a video on that as well. So let's have a look at the brassica problem, and let's have a look around the plot and see what's going on with growth, because it's just so wild at the moment. There's so much going on, but it's really, really exciting. So let's go. Okay, so yeah, problem with brassicas, particularly the broccoli. There are a couple of other brassicas, like there is some cabbage, which looks a bit funny as well, that's wilting. Most of them are okay though. We've got some red Calabash cabbage, we've got our Savoy cabbage for Christmas, we've got our normal Golden Acre Primo cabbages, and we've got red Russian kale, black Tuscany kale, lots of brassicas. It's the broccoli that seems to have the problem, and a couple of cabbages as well by the looks of it. And before I even pull them up, I know it's one of two things. It could be clubberroot, or it could be cabbage root fly. I think it's the clubberroot though, just by looking at the leaves. I mean, cabbage root fly has similar symptoms, wilting leaves, the plants look a bit sorry for themselves because it affects the roots and the plants are unable to draw up moisture from the ground. So if it's club root, and I doubt it's cabbage root fly because it's netted, and I never really have cabbage root fly. But then again, I never have club root either. But I did grow brassicas in this bed before I planted the broccoli. So to be honest, I'm asking for it really by growing them in the same bed. Diseases can become a problem if you don't do much rotation. Not always, but they can be a problem. Now there are a few broccoli plants that are unaffected by the looks of it, but it's these ones on this far end, interestingly, that are quite wilted. But we're going to pull them up because they're not going to recover, I don't think, especially now, you know, it's August and stuff. I may as well pull them up and try and plant something else in here, not brassicas. I did lime the soil though before planting, so I don't know why that's happened. And I also grew a hybrid. This is a hybrid variety of broccoli called Iron Man. So it's my understanding that because there's club root in here, I either have to grow a club root resistant variety if I do grow brassicas again in here next year, or I can't plant brassicas in here for many years to come. Yep, I'm going to say with 100% confidence that it's club root. As you can see, the top is quite mutated. That is club root. I've never actually seen it on my plot, I don't think. Yeah, I've never really had a problem with it, but I have seen other people having problems on the allotment site, so I know that's what it looks like. The roots are very distorted. I'm going to be burning these plants. I'm not going to be composting. That is the worst thing I can do. Yeah, that looks very much like club root to me. It's worse towards the top. There's a lot of like mutated, and the plants are wilting as well. So we're going to pull these 4 out. The other ones I'm just going to leave because most of them do look okay, to be honest. It's just these few. There are a couple of cabbages, like I said, that look a bit dodgy, which I may have to pull them out as well. Yeah, what a shame. That is a shame, because we had a really good harvest of broccoli and cabbage before here. All the brassicas have done well. We had some amazing cauliflower. We had some brilliant broccoli. They were massive. And cabbages as well, which we're actually still eating. I've picked some cabbages from over there the other day as well. The brassicas have just done so well, so we had to pay for it in some way or another, didn't we? And that is how we're paying for it. But it is what it is. We can't win with everything, can we? So yeah, I'll leave the rest in here because they don't look as bad, but I probably will end up pulling them out in the coming weeks. Anyway, let's have a look around the plot. The tomatoes in the Polytunnel aren't doing as well as I'd like, so we're going to have a look in there. And I may be making some changes with that very soon as well, with the Polytunnel. Okay, so tomatoes in the small Polytunnel. Not doing too great, to be honest. I mean, we've harvested some tomatoes in the greenhouse and the other Polytunnel, but this one, they're not doing very good. The hybrids aren't doing too bad. We've got honeymoon, we've got cocktail crush, some sun gold tomatoes there which we've harvested. They're doing okay, but the heritage varieties are doing terrible. Look at these ones. Alice's Dream. There's not a single tomato on there. I don't even know. I did put some Jack's Magic compost in here. I don't know if that's got something to do with the poor growth of these. I don't know, but Black Beauty have some fruit on them. There's not that many of them, but they have something on them at least. And then we've got, this one's Rebel Starfighter Prime, very small tomatoes. And there's a few more here that's, yeah, a few more varieties there. I think that's large barred boar. They're not very large though. Tiger tomato. They look like they're a pear-shaped tomato. Oh, oops. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, they're not doing very good. I don't know if it's the low light levels actually, because these checkered polytunnels are very well known for blocking out a lot of light. So I may actually just turn this into a fruit cage next year, you know. I might take the cover off, stick netting over it, and just turn it into a fruit cage. Maybe move it over there on the other side of the plot where there's more fruit bushes and grow the fruit bushes in there, and then turn this into a raised bed or make it more raised and just have it as outdoor growing in here. I don't know. Honeymoon tomatoes are doing okay though, they're nice. I neglected these a bit. There's some pruning I didn't do. I usually do cut the side shoots off, but this one's been left to its own devices for a little bit. So is this one. This is Midnight Roma. There's a couple of tomatoes on there, but nothing to write home about. And yeah, here as well. I mean, yeah, the marigolds are doing better than the tomatoes are. They're doing great, but the tomatoes not too much. Somebody recently asked me if I grow aubergines on the plot, and yes I do. I have one aubergine plant here with a few very small fruits on there. Ow, they're very sharp. Maybe we'll get a crop before the end of the season. Who knows? We've got another few weeks yet before things start cooling down, haven't we? So, yeah, maybe. Sweet corn, there's a couple more on there. They've done well. We harvested them the other day, and tomatoes are still coming. The experimental tomatoes are actually doing better than the other tomatoes. These have yielded the most. I may just grow hybrids from now on, but the thing is with the heritage varieties, they are lovely if you can get away with growing them. They are hard work, not disease resistant, and they're not as prolific, but if you can grow some, they're so much more flavourful, they look amazing, they're just so nice to grow, just not as reliable. I mean, this is another hybrid here, Honeymoon again. I've already picked a couple of these. Always reliable, and they're really nice as well. Nice big bunches of them. What on earth is going on here? These are a couple of sun gold tomatoes which I'm growing in grow bags. Probably not enough water. I think they've dried out too quick and the plants have suffered. Yeah, they don't look good at all, do they? They have yielded some tomatoes though. They're still going. Maybe I won't grow in grow bags again. Maybe I'll just stick to buckets. You've got to try things though, haven't you? You've got to give it a go. Red ants. They are everywhere. Gonna give an example now. Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. They're just everywhere. So a few people have suggested that I use borax, and I've done a bit of research. I can either make like a liquid solution, I think, or I can mix it with sugar and just have it dry. And the idea is the ants go for the sugar, but they also take the borax as well, getting confused. You sort of get like a cup of sugar and mix a couple of tablespoons of borax in it. The ants go for the sugar, but they also get confused and go for the borax as well, and it kills them. So I think I'm going to be spreading it all around the allotment. That is what I'm going to do next. Look, they're all along here. Look at that. They're just everywhere. And it's like this all over the allotment, by the way. Not just here. It is like this in every single bed. Like literally, I could. Let's pick a random corner of the plot here. I'll pick this one. There we go. They're coming out of there now. There's a red ant nest in there as well. They're just all over the place. Anyway, red ants aside, let's have a look at how the peppers are doing, because we were having issues with blossom end rot and also slugs as well. But it looks like they're coming through now. Look at that. Oh my goodness. That is ridiculous. And they bloody hurt as well. When they sting you, they hurt. Especially when you get a few of them. When you get a dozen of them stinging your leg, it's not very pleasant. Look at those. Oh my. Look at the size of that. Some really nice peppers on the go here. So I'm going to say these have probably been a success. Just got to wait for them to ripen. The plants are that heavy that they're actually, some of the stems are breaking because there's so many fruits on them. Got some yellow ones here. Those aren't too far off. Fiesta is the variety of those. More over here. Yeah, not too bad at all, to be fair. This one's got about, there's about 10 peppers on that one. Yeah, the cucumbers have just been going wild. We've been picking so many of them. They're still going. They're just covered. The mini munch cucumbers. I mean, I'm not complaining, they are lovely, but you can only eat so many cucumbers. Even these Space Master cucumbers, which are supposed to be a compact variety, which only grow to like, I don't know, like a couple of feet, I think. Even they've been good. They do require peeling. They're quite tough skinned cucumbers, but they are really delicious. Yeah, they are nice. Yeah, the mini munch are they're still going for it, and they probably will be going for it until the end of the growing season now, I think. I've been lazy with it. I've not like trained them really. I've just grown them up bamboo canes, and they've produced so many cucumbers. Courgettes are still going for it. We've been picking these now for like 2 months. They're still going. I picked a courgette yesterday that was huge. It was like 3 times the size of my head. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it. Once they get too big, they're not very good. But if you've got any suggestions of what to do with courgettes that are too big, do let me know. Beetroot's still going for it as well. We've still got quite a few more of those to pick. I've been eating them now for quite some time. The carrots have been good as well. We've got sweet candle carrots here, and honestly, they were amazing. The tops don't look that big, you know, there's not that much foliage, but the roots underneath are much bigger than you'd expect for the amount of foliage. So this is a sweet candle carrot. Not too bad. Sprouts are doing really well. I actually need to trim the lower leaves off these now. Yeah, I've gotten quite big. They're like 3 or 4 feet tall now. Probably more than that. Looks like 4 feet. I need to pick the rest of these leeks, the ones that haven't bolted. There's quite a few that have. And then I'm going to make some leek and potato soup, I think. Planted some more in here last week, and those, I think they're growing, I think. They'll be harvested through the winter, hopefully. Swede, looks like they're at the maximum size now. I'm just going to come and pick them when I need one. We've got enough veg to get through as it is, so I'm going to leave them for the time being. Second lot of dwarf beans I've planted. Not too sure why I planted more dwarf beans, because we've got plenty of beans on the go. We've got the climbing ones as well, which I'll show you in a bit. I just don't like leaving beds empty. I think that's what it is. The outdoor tomatoes at the front of the plot, they're not doing too much, but I think they will give us a crop into the autumn. I'm just going to leave them though. I'm not training them. I'm just going to let them bush out. I'm just going to leave them to their own devices and see what they do. Cabbages in here as well are doing quite well, except for a few slug holes. We've got our red drumhead ones there for Christmas, providing the slugs don't obliterate them before that time. And some more golden acre primo. I picked a couple of these ones the other day, and the slugs had really gone to town on them. I had to just cut all them bits off, and the rest of it was edible. But yeah, I mean, it feels like the same every year. We have a really dry spring, and then the summer is just really wet. That happens quite often. The rest of the plot over here, not too much going on. The sweet peas are just a disaster. And there's some lovely purple phlox in the corner over there. Sunflowers have pretty much finished over here now. There was a lovely display of them about a month or so ago. The attention has turned now to these ones. Autumn Beauty with their dark blooms. They've just started blooming. And there's plenty more to flower now. The pumpkin jungle. I've managed to count 7 pumpkins so far in here, although it is difficult to count them because you can't really see what's going on. But there's a couple of really good sized ones now. These are jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. Beautiful. And they're already starting to turn orange. There's a few more dotted around. They're actually trailing all the way around that greenhouse there. And they're even starting to come over this way. They've come down here as well. It's just crazy. The elephant garlic, I never even managed to harvest that. I'll probably have to harvest that in the autumn. Hopefully they're still okay in the ground. Some sweet corn here as well, which isn't quite ready yet. I'm keeping a close eye on them. I'm playing a bit of a game with the rats. Who can harvest the sweet corn first? Because they're not ready yet. But I need to leave them longer, but I still need to harvest them before the rats do. So yeah, me and the rats are watching these. It's who gets there first. That's the question. I might just point the surveillance camera on here, put a motion detector on for the rats, and see if I can catch them in the act, and then leg it down here when it does, although it might be 2 AM when that happens. Anyway, right, let's just carry on. We've got rocket planted in here, we've got lettuce in here, which the slugs have started to go for now. Yeah, we've got beans as well. These are the climbing French beans, Cobra. There's also Firestorm runner beans on the other side as well. They've actually started to come over this way. So they're sort of like competing now, but I'm not joking. The Cobra French beans have been so prolific. I've been picking so many. I've picked like 4 mushroom trays full of these so far. I've had to freeze some of them. I've just blanched them for a couple of minutes, dipped them in cold water, and then put them in the freezer. They've been amazing. And I suspect they're still gonna give us a crop into the autumn, I think. There's no signs of them slowing down yet. Some nice big parsnips for Christmas. I do hope so. They look pretty healthy. Still another 2 or 3 months yet before we harvest them. When we sowed these in March or April, the first lot I sowed didn't do anything. I had to sow some more. And it was quite late I sowed them. It was at least April, May when I sowed them. So I am glad that they're now starting to grow. So yeah, I thought I'd wrap this video up now because it's getting quite long. So that's what's going on the allotment at the moment. A lot, as there usually is in August. Lots of harvests, lots of jobs to be doing. I could probably do with a bit of a de-weeding session, to be honest though. Yeah, I probably should do one of them soon. I need to do some more sowing next week, I think. August sowing. Because I feel like we're going to lose quite a lot of the brassicas from them beds, and I might have to plant some more in a different bed somewhere. It's all just a gamble, isn't it? But the club route, I have had to pull some broccoli plants up. I will probably have to pull up some cabbage plants as well. I don't know, we may lose the entire lot, but it is what it is, I suppose. I need to sort these onions out. They've been drying in here now for the last couple of weeks, and they're definitely now cured. Elsia Craig, they did so well. I'm probably just going to store them in netted sacks. I may get away with stringing them actually. There is a bit of neck still on there. But yeah, I need to do that. They're fine in the greenhouse for the time being though. There's no rush for them. I need to do something with this flipping thing. What is that? Marrow. That's what it is. That must be 1.5 foot long at least. Yeah. I need to smack one of the rats over the head with it. Huge. It's very, very big. And very soon we're going to be packing things up ready for the winter, which is sad, isn't it? Because it feels like the growing season's not really been going for that long, you know. It feels like we've only just gotten started. The tomatoes have only just started cropping, you know, just harvested the sweet corn. The peppers are not even ripe yet. You know, you harvest everything and then literally next thing, you know, it's autumn again and then winter. So next week I'm going to be sowing some seeds for autumn and winter. And if you want to check out the potato reveal, which I did last week, you can do so by clicking here. I know how much you guys like potato reveals, so if you haven't watched it already, give it a watch by clicking here. And that's all for now, guys. I will see you in the next one. Happy gardening and stay safe.